All right, class, so here's the Chapter 13 review. And yes, I did give you surface area. And will you see surface area on the quiz and test? Very little, if any. But it is a concept you should learn. It's just not a concept I'm going to quiz and test you over per se. Definitely need to know volume though. And so, all right, let's get right to it. Here we go. Find the surface area and volume of the following figures. Okay, so surface area for a cube, so is area of lateral surface plus 2 times area of the base. All right, and the lateral surface is, again, you have to understand how to open this thing up. And this is 7, 7, 7, 7, right? So 7, 7, 7, 7. And the height is also 7. So that's the lateral surface. And then you have 2 bases here. I'm going to do in red, which again, this would be 7 and 7, and you have another base where again, that's 7 and 7. So the area of the lateral surface is base times height plus 2 times the area of the base, which is base times height, or because it's a square, I'll just do side squared. Okay, lateral surface, 7, 14, 21, 28, right? Watch right here. The whole base is 28 times the height of 7, and then 2 bases, and each base is a 7 centimeters squared. Oops, that should be this way. All right, so let me grab my calculator. 7 times 28 is 196 centimeters squared. 2 times 49 is 98 centimeters squared. So the surface area for number 29 should come in at plus 98, 294. All right, something is a bit off. What, 7, 14, 21, 28 times 7. Let me check my numbers here. Okay, nope, we're good. So surface area 294 centimeters squared. All right, volume. Volume of a prism. A cube is a prism. So it's a two-sided figure, right? And so it's area of the base times the height. All right, the base is a square, so I can use side squared, or I can use base times height, same thing, and then times, of course, the height of the whole cube. All right, side squared, 7 centimeters squared times the height of 7 centimeters, which, by the way, you could have just cubed the 7. So same thing, and you end up with 343 cubic centimeters, and that's the volume of our prism. So surface area 294 centimeters squared, volume 243 centimeters cubed. Number 30. All right, so once again we have a prism, and so once again the surface area is going to be area of the lateral surface, and again this is a prism, plus 2 times the area of the base. Oops, let me get that as a subscript as I want it to be, plus 2 times area of the base. Okay, so again, you have to be careful here as you split this open. So let me try my best to draw what this thing looks like split open. So notice I have an 8 by 2, and then I'll have the 5 by 2, and then a second 8 by 2, and then the other side of the 5 by 2. You follow? And then on the top and bottom, notice, so we have to figure out, so the top is a 8 long, right, and 5. Okay, so area of the lateral surface, I'm going to do this in green. So this is base times height plus 2 times and the bases are base times height. Okay, so let's see if we can make sense out of this. 8 plus 5 plus 8 plus 5, 16 is 26, all the way from there to there, right? I'm just doing that one time, the base. So again, that's 26, and these are centimeters, times the height, 2 centimeters. All right, now let's do our two bases. The base of our base is 8 centimeters, and the height is 5 centimeters. Okay, so 26 times 2, that's 52 centimeters squared, plus 8 times 5 is 40, times 2 is 80 centimeters squared. So what is that, 132 centimeters squared would be the surface area for number 30. So 132 centimeters squared surface area. Okay, volume of a prism. Again, it has two bases, so it's just going to be area of the base times the height. What is the, here, let me do this in red. What is the base? It is a parallelogram, so it's going to be base times height. You could think length times width. And then you got to be careful here. This is the height of the whole prism. So I'll use some color and help you out here. So the base, again, has a base of 8 and a height of 5. And again, these are centimeters. And the height of the whole prism is 2 centimeters. So we got to multiply all that together. 5 times 8 is 40, times 2 is 80. 80 centimeters cubed would be the volume of this prism. All right, so two answers. Surface area, 132 centimeters squared. Volume, 80 centimeters cubed. Again, you got to recognize your shape for the volume and make sure you're using the correct formula. All right, here we have now a cylinder. So the area of a cylinder, again, we're talking surface area, is going to be the area of the lateral surface plus, because there are two bases, 2 times the area of the base. So again, if I split this thing open, it's going to look something like this. This is the surface area. And so notice I have a radius of 4 meters. Now this here, let me use some color. So let's get into the specific formula. The area of the lateral surface is going to be base times height. The base is going to be the circumference, and the height is that value, and they told us that that's 7 meters. Okay, and then plus 2 times the area of the base, and the base is a circle, and the formula for area of a circle is pi r squared. All right, so let's begin to sub in. Okay, what is the circumference? 2 times pi times the radius, 4 meters, times the height of the base, 7 meters. All right, and then plus 2. I'm going to use my pi button. You can use, I'll use 3.14, why not? And then the radius again is 4 meters, and we have to square that. All right, let me keep these separate. So 2 times 3.14, and you can use your pi button, and that's fine. You might be off by a couple tenths, and that's not a problem, times 7. And this is 175.84 meters squared, plus 4 squared is 16 times 3.14 times the two bases, and this is 100.48 meters squared. So I need to add all these up. 175.84, and I get 276. All right, your book left pi in the answer, so let me write what I have. 276.32 meters squared. If you leave pi, so it would be 2856 plus 32, or 88 pi centimeters squared. So those are the same answer the book left pi in the answer, I multiplied pi out. I would take it either way. All right, volume of a cylinder is, again, two bases, so area of the base times the height. What kind of base do we have? A circle, so that's going to be pi r squared, and the height is the height of the cylinder. Okay, pi 3.14, what's our radius? 4 meters squared, and what's the height of the whole cylinder? 7 meters. So 16 times 7 times 3.14, and I get 20, that can't be right. See, you always got to question your calculator. 16 times 7 times 3.14, and I get 3, now I'm in 373,000, and that's not right. Come on, calculator. 16 times 7 times 3.14 equals 351.68. That makes sense. 351.68. This is approximately meters cubed. And let's check that out again. The book did it both ways. They gave it to you in form of pi and then also as an answer. And so if you left pi in your answer, it would be 112 pi meters cubed. Either answer is fine. Usually we just multiply out pi for us, but I will take it either way because the book gave it to you either way. All right, 33, so we look at this shape. And again, we're talking area, and we're talking area of, and again, you have to recognize this is a prism, which again is going to be the area of the lateral surface plus, because there are two bases, 2 times the area of the base. Now, the way it's drawn, you can't see it, but there's another base in here, right? It goes like that. Okay, so there are 2 bases, and the base is a triangle, right? So let me go over here. I'll get there in a minute. All right, what happens when you split this thing open? All right, you got to be careful because in splitting this one open, we have to understand our values. This is a 10, right? The bottom here is a 6, and this other side is also going to be, okay, this is a 10 here, and this is a 10 here, and we're going to have to assume that this is also a 6. It's the only thing that makes sense. Let me pause and think this through for a minute. They did not give us those values. We're going to have to assume that they are 6s. Boy, I don't like that question. I would not have written the question with ambiguity. When I do it, I will not leave you with ambiguity. And I can see they want us to use the Pythagorean Theorem. Okay. Yeah, so I'm looking at my book now, and we're not going to assume that that's a 6. We're going to have to figure out the values. So let me be clear here. I need this side, and I need this side. I need those values not for the area of the base, but for the area of the lateral surface. So let me try to show it to you this way, right? We're going to have that side, then we're going to have a 6, and then we're going to have that side on our lateral surface, right? And we know that this value here is 10, okay? So, and then we have our base right here and our base right here. And so I should have put that at, I should move those here. Let me do it this way. Hitting our 6, right? Yeah. Right, so we know this is 6. We know that is 8. So let me show you where I'm at. Area of the base is 1/2 base times height because it's a triangle. The 2 and the half are going to cancel out. What is the base of our triangle? 6 meters. What is the height of our triangle? 8 meters. So this part's easy. 6 times 8 is 48 meters squared. But again, my issue is I need to know this value and this value. And I'm going to have to come up with a means of trying to figure out this value. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to assume that this comes down to the center, and I'm going to have to assume that this is 3 meters. So see this right triangle right here? So I have 6, 8, and 3, and I'm looking for the hypotenuse here. I'm going to call it C, right? C. So Pythagorean Theorem. A squared plus B squared equals C squared. All right, one side is 3, one side is 8, and C is what we're looking for. 3 squared is 9, 8 squared is 64 equals C squared. 9 and 64 is 73. And then remember, to get to C, I have to take the square root of C, and I have to do that to both sides. So this is going to be the square root of 73. Yuck. Brother. All right. They're making you work for this one. So this is square root of 73, and this is the square root of 73. Okay, area of the lateral surface. Area of the base. So watch, I have to add square root of 73 plus 6 plus square root of 73. So square root of 73 plus 6 plus square root of 73 times the height of the lateral surface, 10 meters. All right, I'm just going to use my calculator. Going to punch in the square root of 73. It's 8.5. There's 2 of them, so times 2, plus my 6. And that part is 23.08 or 23.1. Then times my 10. And so watch, this part here, this lateral surface, is 230.9. And I'll give you a little leeway there on that, meters squared. So add in the 48 for the base, for the 2 bases, and I get 278.9 meters squared. That again was tricky, all right, 278.9 meters squared. Hey, I understand that. Remember, don't freak out about the surface area. I do want you to have a general idea how to do them, but it's really the volumes that I'm after. All right, volume of a prism, again, 2 bases, so area of the base times the height. Notice this problem is going to be a whole lot easier. What kind of base does the triangle have, or does the prism have? A triangle. So that's 1/2 base times height, and then times the height of the whole prism. All right. 1/2, the base is clearly 6 meters of the triangle, and the height is clearly 8 meters. And what's the height of the whole prism? Again, it's this 10. Remember, the height is the distance between the 2 bases, 10 meters. So 1/2 of 6 is 3. 3 times 8 is 24. 24 times 10 is 240. Meters times meters times meters is meters cubed, and that's the volume of our prism, 240 meters cubed. All right, now we've got a pyramid, and thankfully we've got to deal with, first off, surface area of a pyramid, which again is area of the lateral surface plus, now there's only one base, so plus area of the base, right? A prism and a cylinder, you have 2 bases, so that's why it's 2 times area of the base. A pyramid and a cone, you only have 1 base, so it's plus area of the base. Okay. Lateral surface is the tricky part. The base is easier. The base is a rectangle. It's a square, actually, so I can go base times height, or I could go side squared. Either formula would work. I could go length times width. Now, the area of the lateral surface, I'm going to do this in red. I'm going to show you is each of these 1, 2, 3, 4 triangles. Okay, so there are 4 triangles that make up the lateral surface. So it's going to be 4 times, and what's the formula for area of a triangle? 1/2 base times height. All right, so let's see how this works out. Here, let me go backwards. I can do the 4, 2 goes into 4 twice, so that becomes a 2. My base is 6, right, of my triangle. And see the height, they told me that perpendicular distance is 5 centimeters. Okay, good. And now area of the base is side squared, right? 6 centimeters squared, or 6 times 6. Okay, so the lateral surface is 30 times 2, which is 60 centimeters squared, plus 36 centimeters squared, and this should be 96 centimeters squared, and that is indeed our surface area, 96 centimeters squared. Volume of a pyramid. Now again, notice only one base. What most students forget is the 1/3. And again, I like the formula area of the base times the height, and I'll make it specific to my problem. And this way I remember one formula that does any kind of pyramid, any kind of cone. So what kind of base do we have? We have a square base. So that's going to be side squared, or base times height. And then we have to multiply that times the height. I'm going to do this in black, times the height of the whole pyramid. Okay. Now be careful. If you would have used base times height here, make sure that for the area of the base, it's the base of the base and the height of the base, and the other black H is the height of the whole pyramid. Students get that mixed up, but that's a key there. All right, let's work our way through this. The third is a third. Side squared, or base times height, is 6 centimeters squared, or 6 centimeters times 6 centimeters. Now, what is this H? The height of the pyramid. See how it's the perpendicular distance from the base to the peak of the pyramid? So this is 4 centimeters. All right, I can do this in my head. 1/3 times 6 is 2. 2 times 6 is 12. 12 times 4 is 48. Centimeters times centimeters is centimeters cubed. And our volume is 48 centimeters cubed. And there you have 33. All right, one more to go. One more to go. And we've got a cone. All right, so area of a cone, again, is area lateral surface plus, there's only one base, right? So plus area of the base. Now, area of lateral surface. Cones are tricky. You have to remember that the lateral surface on these is the formula, I got to remember it myself, 2 times pi, 2 times, pi RL, yes, pi RL. Pi times radius times the length. All right, and then area of the base is easy. It's a circle. I'm going to do this in green, so that's pi r squared. All right, and I'm going to give you, we're going to multiply out pi, and we'll figure this out. Okay, so let's work off the lateral surface. 3.14 for pi, or you can use your pi button. The radius is clearly 5 millimeters. Now, what is this L? So you have to understand that this L is this length right here. So that is really an important aspect to it, that you understand that L is the 13 millimeters. It's called the slant height, and that's why we label it L. All right, and then plus pi r squared, and r is obviously 5 millimeters squared. Okay, calculator. So lateral surface, 5 times 13 times 3.14, and this is 204.1 millimeters squared, plus 25 times 3.14, and this is 78.5 millimeters squared. Add the two together, I get 282.6 millimeters squared, and that is the correct surface area of that cone. All right, last problem, volume of a cone. And again, notice your cone, like a pyramid, has only one base, and therefore the volume is a third. A third of the area of the base times the height. All right, so the third is third. What kind of base do we have? It is a circle. So area of a circle is pi r squared, and then times the height of the whole cone. Let's sub in. Pi will use 3.14. The radius is clearly 5 millimeters. Don't forget to square that. Now, what is the height of a cone? Again, like the pyramid, it's perpendicular to the base, right? And goes to the peak. So it's the 12 millimeters. All right, so 5 squared is 25. I like to multiply times the 12, then times the 3.14, and then I like to divide by the 3. Again, I'm just doing it using the commutative property. You can go in the order you want to. I got 314 millimeters cubed. Now let's check that, and that is indeed the answer for the volume of that cone. All right, so again, did I have you do surface area for the homework? Yes, because I wanted you to get the practice. You had the benefit of your notes. You had the benefit of the book. Lots of benefit to get these figured out, and I hope you did. Again, they're a little tricky, so am I going to ask you necessarily a bunch of questions about surface area on the quiz and test? No. So focus on your areas and your volumes. Now, remember, this is the second half of the chapter review. So don't neglect the first half of the chapter review. Boy, you got to be able to, for the quiz and test, you got to be able to get the area of a trapezoid, the area of a rhombus, the area of a parallelogram, the area of a circle, the area of a triangle. You got to know all those formulas. Know all your formulas, by the way, for area and volume and circumference. You'll see those on the quiz and test, because you got to use those formulas to get the problems correct. And so we trust you will. Learn your formulas, get them in your head, and then you got to work them out. All right, I hope this video was a help to you. And remember, if you need more help, where do you go? www.afterschoolhelp.com. It's there for you. You have questions, email me. I usually try to get back to the students within minutes. I keep a close watch on my email these days so that you don't have to wait a long time for me to get back to you. 99% of the time, I'm getting back to you within a few minutes, so email me if you have questions. All right, I hope that's a help, and I hope you do well in your quiz.